You're listening to The Monetized Mom, the podcast that teaches moms of faith how to monetize their expertise online to create influence, impact, income, and more importantly, financial independence. I'm your host, Flo Alexander. Let's chat. Hey mama, if you are tuned into this episode, you're probably looking to grow your coaching business. Well, you are in luck. I just released a new training on how to launch a high-ticket program that clients will pay thousands for, even if you don't have your program created. Now, you can access it now at themonetizedmom.com/training. That's themonetizedmom.com/training. Again, that's themonetizedmom.com/training. Now, let's get on with the show. If you did not make your income goals last quarter, don't fret, because I want to be sharing exactly how you can reach your income goals going forward so that you can ultimately make more while doing less, so that you can quit your 9-to-5. So here's the thing. Towards the end of every quarter, I like to do two things. The first thing that I like to do is, one, I like to reflect on the previous quarter. I like to sit down and write down what went well, what can be improved on, somewhat of a SWOT analysis. If you guys have heard of that, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I like to go through and say, okay, what went well in the previous quarter as far as how I felt, because that's important. What products was working, what strategies were working, all those things. So I go through and I look at what went well, what didn't go well, what can be improved. And then the second thing I do is actually plan for the next quarter, looking at the business, projecting out what the revenue is going to be, thinking about strategies that I want to implement based on the things that I learned from the previous quarter. And looking at my business revenue is obviously a huge part of that, because at the end of the day, you are in business to make money. So that's one of the things that I like to do. Look at what is the strategy for the upcoming quarter that will enable me to be able to hit or exceed my revenue goals. So one thing that I want to be able to do is create a plan for hitting my income goals for that upcoming month and the months to come. So today I'm going to be actually walking you through that strategic thought process, the things that I do to actually plan out my quarters going forward. So obviously now we're planning for Q2. So I'll be walking through that process of planning for Q2 so that you can hit your income goals and your revenue goals. Okay. But first things first, before we can even talk about hitting the goals, right? We have to talk about, how do you even set your revenue goals? Often I see people creating revenue goals that are arbitrary, right? The big thing, especially in the entrepreneurship space, in the online entrepreneurship space, is hitting that 100K mark. But most people really don't have a reason for hitting that income goal other than it's 6 figures and they can say that they run a 6-figure business, right? But the reality is, though, that hitting $100,000 within a year does not equate to $100,000 in your pocket. Anybody that's running a business, an actual business, will tell you that you can go ahead and knock off 30,000 of that for taxes, not to mention operating expenses, right? So you're not actually making that in your pocket, right? So the point is, when you're trying to make your revenue goals, you can't have arbitrary revenue goals because it sounds good and that's what someone on the internet is saying. You actually want to, if you actually want to pocket $100,000 in income from your business, then you're going to have to make at least 2 to 3x times that amount. Okay. So let's talk about, how do you actually set realistic revenue goals that are not arbitrary, that are not based on what somebody else said on the internet, right? So when you set your revenue goals, you need to set your revenue goals based on your life goals. And I've talked about this before, but it's worth mentioning again. The idea here for your business is to be able to support your life. So when you are creating your goals for your business, your income and your revenue goals, you need to know, what is it that you're trying to afford with that income? Why are you in business? One, but what do you want to do with the income that you actually make from your business? So what are you actually trying to afford? So if you want to buy a new car, if you want to buy a new house, if you want to pay for activities for your kids, what are those things that you want to be able to afford? And that's what we're setting our income and our revenue goals around. We're setting it around our life. So what is that number? What is the number that you need to pay for that vacation? What is the number that you need for those kids' activities? How much is that new car going to cost you? And this is what we're going to use to determine what our revenue goals are going to be for that particular quarter and for the year, right? And the thing about doing this, by looking at your business from the perspective of something that supports your life, you're able to make your goals a lot more tangible, and you're not just working towards an arbitrary number. You're actually working towards getting something tangible, a result of the hard work that you're doing in your business. So first things first, as we're thinking about how do you hit your Q2 goals and any upcoming quarter thereafter, think about what are those life goals that you're trying to accomplish that you want your business to be able to support financially. And once you calculate what that cost is, I want you to add about 50%, if not more, or if not double. I want you to add 50% more to that to accommodate for taxes and other expenses that come along with it for your goal. So your goal is going to be, what is it that I actually want to afford to be able to pay for with my business income? And then once you know that number, let's tack on 50% or even double it. And that's what our revenue goal is. So first things first, if we're talking about how to reach our revenue goals, our income goals for the quarter, the first thing that you need to do is actually determine what those goals are. And again, when it comes to having your income and revenue goals for your business, it aligns with the life that you want to have. Just think about it from the perspective, if you were looking for a job, right? You are going to look for something that is going to help you afford the lifestyle that you want to have. So it's no different from your business. You want to be able to generate enough revenue to support the lifestyle that you want to have. But first things first, you actually have to know what that lifestyle is that you want. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, now, once you know what your goal is, once you know what that revenue goal is, you have to track your progress toward it. You have to track your progress toward it. Otherwise, you're just wandering aimlessly. So you obviously want to track if you are hitting your income goal, right? You want to track how much income you're making, but at the end of the day, the income is just an end result of what you're doing on a daily basis. So the real things that you need to be tracking are how many conversations, and this is for coaches, service providers, anyone who is leveraging the online space to provide services, right? You need to be tracking the number of conversations that you're having with potential clients. You need to be tracking the number of calls that you're making with potential clients, and you need to be tracking your conversion percentages. Okay. So calls, conversations, and your conversions. So conversations, here's the thing. Networking is the lifeline of your business. Networking is the pipeline for your business. You need to be doing it daily. So one thing I would challenge you is to aim to have 3 to 5 conversations each day with people who are your ideal clients, and then see the correlation between the number of conversations that you have and your increase in the number of calls and even the number of clients that you are able to enroll into your program. Again, you have to network in business. So one of the metrics that you need to be following and that you need to be tracking as you're working towards your income goal is the number of conversations that you're having. Are you bringing in a consistent pipeline of potential clients into your business? And the way that you do that is by actually having conversations with people. So that's the first thing that you need to be tracking daily. And then again, I want you to see the correlation between the number of conversations that you have and the number of and how much income you're able to make. So that at the end of it, you'll be able to see, if I have X amount of conversations, I'm able to generate X amount of calls, which ultimately leads to X amount of dollars. So first things first is tracking the number of conversations that you have. The second thing that you need to track is the number of calls that you had. I just said conversations can lead to calls. So how many times are you actually getting on the phone and presenting your offer to a potential client, an interested lead, right? Here's the thing. More calls equal more money. More calls equals more opportunities to make money. So how many calls do you need to have in order to reach your income goals, right? What is the magic number of calls that you need to have in order to reach your income goals? And you need to be tracking, because you want to know if you're trending towards that number or not. And obviously, if you aren't trending towards that number, then it's likely that you're not going to reach your income goals. So are you trending towards the number? What is the number of calls that you have? You need to be tracking that and knowing if you're trending towards that number or not. And the way that you understand how your calls and your conversations correlate to the amount of income you make is by also tracking your conversions. Businesses that don't run on data are not businesses. You have to look at your numbers so that you have something to adjust. Okay. So I just talked about having conversations. I just talked about having calls. Now you need to know how do those correlate to how much income you make? And that's because you're tracking your conversions, right? How many of those conversations are converting to calls? How many calls are converting to clients? These are the numbers that you need to know. So if you have your sales system set up, some of the KPIs and metrics that you need to be tracking are: what is your opt-in percentage? How many people are actually opting in to your email list or whatever form of communication you have, your text message list, whatever? What is your application or book call percentage? How many people are actually applying to work with you? And I talked about the reason behind having applications, right? But in a previous episode, but what is your application rate? What is your book call percentage? How many people who are interacting with you are actually taking the next step and booking a call? What is that percentage? How many of those applications are you actually approving? How many of those calls are you actually approving? So now you know, of the people who apply, only a certain percent are going to be approved for a call and go forward with a call. So now you know the number that you're working with for opportunities that you have to present your offer and ultimately enroll people into your program. So then you want to know, what's the show up rate? How many people are actually showing up to these calls once they've applied, once they've been approved for a call? How many people are actually showing up? So now you know, again, that number is getting smaller. So now you know exactly how many people, again, you are able to present that opportunity to. And then last but not least, how many people are you actually closing? What is your close percentage? What is the percentage of people who enroll in your program once you are on the phone with them and you present the offer? These are all metrics that you need to be tracking so that you are able to predict what your income is going to be. You have to run your business by the numbers. Anything else is not a business. Anything else is throwing spaghetti on the wall. So again, you need to be tracking those conversations. You need to be tracking the number of calls that you're having, and you need to be tracking your conversions. What are your numbers so that you are able to predict and also track your progress towards the income, your income goals for the quarter and for the month for that matter. All right. So if you do these things daily, you will be able to strategically reach your revenue goals. Not only that, you'll be able to quickly see when something is not right and you can immediately make adjustments. So if you're not trending in the right direction, you can pivot and make changes, and you can identify where those changes need to be made in order to get back on track to actually hit your income goals. All right. So the third thing I want to talk about is, as we're talking about our income goals, a lot of us probably want to increase our income, especially if you didn't have a good Q1. You probably want to be able to increase your income in Q2. So here are some things that you can do to actually increase your income as you go into the next quarter. So first things first, I just talked about this, but you want to improve your conversions. I'm going to say this again because it needs to be said. If you're not running a business by the numbers, you are just gambling. I'll say that again. If you're not running a business by the numbers, you're just gambling. Business owners take calculated risk and moves. Everything else that's not calculated based on data is simply throwing spaghetti at the wall. And so if you know your numbers, you can improve on them. So again, if you're tracking those daily KPIs, those daily metrics, you know where in your process you need to improve so that you can get higher conversions, which ultimately means you're enrolling more people into your program and therefore making more money. So the first thing that you can do to increase your income without having to do anything crazy is by actually working to improve your conversions. And the first step in actually doing that is knowing what your numbers are. So tracking your KPIs on a daily basis. The second thing that you could do is increase your price. Increase your price. So many of us are undercharging. I recently raised my the investment for my coaching, and it'll probably go up again and probably double. Let's be real. But most of us are typically undercharging. So if you want to increase your income, you can raise your price. And remember that price is based on your value first and foremost, but also your goals. When we are setting these income and revenue goals, is based on the life goals that we have that we want our business to support. So when it comes to that, you need to be pricing your program appropriately to be able to hit those goals. All right. So if your price isn't getting you the income that you want in your business, increase it to where it makes sense, right? Increase it to where it makes sense, is worth your time. You're providing value that matches the investment that you're charging, but it's also supporting the financial goals that you have for yourself. And then the last thing that you can do to increase your income over the quarter is by retaining your current clients. I talked about this before, but this is one thing that's often not talked about in the online marketing space and the business coaching space. Everyone's talking about how to get new clients, how to get new clients, how to get more clients, but very rarely do we have people talking about how do you actually retain those clients so that you can maintain and also increase your income. It's great to get a continuous stream of new clients, but what if you got a continuous stream of new clients in addition to retaining your current clients? You're able to increase your income without having to do more work. Okay. So if you want to increase your income in the coming quarter, let's think about how can you retain your current clients. Now, I know a lot of you, if you're just start launching your program, you're like, well, I don't have something that they can roll up into, that they can upgrade into. Have them renew. That if you are doing a good job coaching them and they still want your guidance and support and accountability, simply have them renew in your current program for coaching. So that is one way that you can increase your revenue, is by retaining your current clients. Serve your clients so that they stay, that they want to stay. Okay. That should be the goal of your delivery. You should be delivering so well and with such excellence that your clients will want to stay and they want to willingly stay. Okay. All right. So let's recap. So first things first, if you want to hit your income goals for Q2 and every upcoming quarter after that, you want to first set realistic revenue goals. Not these arbitrary, I want to hit 10K months. I want to hit 15K months, 20K months. I want to hit 100K for the year so I can say I'm a six-figure earner, or I make 20K a month. That all sounds great. But at the end of the day, you got to have a real reason for why you want to hit those numbers that aligns with your life goals. Because I can tell you right now, when them taxes hit and when those expenses hit, that 20K a month looks real tinnish. Okay. So you need to make sure you're actually setting revenue goals that make sense for your life and to be able to support the lifestyle and the life goals that you have, that you want your business to support. Okay. The next thing that you need to do is actually track your progress daily. And the way that you do that is having KPIs, knowing exactly what you need to be looking at to determine if you're on the right track. You need to be tracking your conversations. You need to be tracking the number of calls that you have. And then you need to be tracking, more importantly, your conversion percentages. What is your opt-in rate? What is your app rate? What is your call show up rate? What is your close rate? These are all things that are important to ensuring that you're going to hit your goals, because you're looking at this daily and knowing when you need to pivot, and you can pivot immediately. And last thing is, we talked about increasing your income, and there are 3 ways that you can increase your income immediately without having to do a lot of work, y'all. First things first, improve your conversions. And the only way that you can do that is by knowing what your numbers are. So if you haven't started tracking your numbers, track them now. Start doing it like today. Start tracking them now, calculating what those conversions are, and knowing looking at what you need to improve in order to get better conversions, in order to get more people closing and enrolling into your program. The second thing that you can do is increase your price. Most of us are undercharging anyway. Go ahead and increase the price. The right people will pay no matter what the investment is, if they find value in what it is that you are providing. But increase your price, but know that price is a function of value and also your personal goals. At the end of the day, when we're talking about how much we're charging, when we're talking about how much we want to make as far as income goes, it's all based on what your life goals are, and your business is just the means to be able to support that. So if you want to be able to make more income in the upcoming quarters, increase your price, but know that it should be based on value and based on those goals that you have for yourself. We want to be strategic about our pricing and our goals, and not just arbitrarily saying, I want to hit 10K a month, 20K a month, 30K a month, or whatever. Does it make sense for the financial goals that you have for your life? And then last but not least, you need to be able to retain clients. We talk a lot about getting new clients, acquiring clients, client attraction. All that stuff is great because you need to have a pipeline, but you also need to have some good delivery so that your clients actually want to stay with you. Your clients actually want to stay with you. So focus on delivery and focus on retaining your clients. If you are just launching your program, and this is something new, right? And you don't have something for them to upgrade to, have them renew. If you are serving them well, I guarantee your clients will want to work with you again. I guarantee you. And if you're not sure how to serve your clients with excellence, go back about 3 or 4 live streams and I talk about it. Okay. So these are the things that you need to focus on if you want to hit your income goals for Q2 and every other quarter after. Focus on the metrics. Focus on making sure you actually have an attainable and realistic goal based on your life goals. And more importantly, focus on how you can do things to increase your revenue and your income. All right. As always, I hope that you found this episode helpful. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. And with that, I'll talk to you in the next episode.